Welcome back, Wolfpack Nation, to another episode of Tuffy Talk. And episode 1, we talked about Super Regionals a little bit, kind of setting the stage to really talk about the matchup. And in this episode, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk some numbers, talk some key matchups. We're going to talk some X factors, get some predictions going on. As again, welcome back, Brett, for episode 2. So let's get right into it. The Pack is traveling down to Georgia this weekend. Series starts Saturday at noon, and Game 2 will be Sunday at noon, and then Monday if necessary. Give me your first thoughts about having a noon game, because that's not like a typical time slot. And, you know, it's NC State, so we as fans are going to complain, like, what kind of deal is a noon game, especially playing an SEC matchup. Give me your thoughts on that, Brett.
To be honest, I hate it. When I saw the schedule come out and I saw 2 noon games back to back, and I don't love it. I think playing baseball early in the day it shouldn't happen.
It's for the birds.
People don't think about this, but if you got a 12 o'clock game, let's say you're showing up at 8:30, 9 o'clock, you take BP, you're there at the field very early, and then you're there for a long day. So for me, my biased opinion, because I'm actually going down to Atlanta this weekend for a couple high school showcases, and when I saw the schedule come out, I saw noon, which kind of sucked because it conflicts with my schedule as well. But you know, noon games, day games are tough. I'm sure there's some sort of TV deal with that as to why they're squeezing it in at 12 o'clock. But it is what it is. It goes back to controlling the controllables, and you're going to have those games in professional baseball all the way up to the big league. So
yeah,
got to find a way.
For sure. This is a Georgia team that is I mean, they're a affordable opponent. Let's not get it wrong. But I also think that there might be some SEC biasness in some of this when you start breaking down their numbers. And I honestly, I forgot I had it. But does anyone have their record overall handy, by the way?
Yeah, it's 39-14.
Okay, 39-14. What were they in the SEC?
Oh, that I don't know.
Okay.
I can check that real quick for you. Let me
while you're doing that. So obviously they had an early exit in their tournament. They lost, like, I believe it was the first round, because the way the SEC tournament does it, it's a really weird single elimination, and then they go into double elimination from there. But let's be honest, they are the Charlie Condon show. I think that's probably safe to say. They should be probably the Georgia Fighting Charlie Condons at this point. Just putting up just redunculous video game numbers. Do you know much about him, Brett? Have you followed him at all? I mean, he's been plastered all over our TV this year if you're watching college baseball.
Yeah, obviously, with the business I'm in now, I know Charlie Connor, know of him. I don't know him personally, but what he's been able to do with the BB core era and hitting 445 this year with 36 home runs and slugging over 1,000. And, you know, the one stat I think that stood out to me, because I was actually doing a little homework on him before this, he's got 55 walks, I think 39 strikeouts, which is almost unheard of. For you to have more walks and strikeouts is, to me, one of the telltale signs of being a really good, young, polished, mature hitter. So he's a heck of a player, but he's earned that right.
So when you talk,
and Greg, he's 17-13 in conference, just to kind of.
Oh, Georgia's okay. Yeah, so fairly average. Yeah, I got you. Hey, you just mentioned, Brett, the BB2 core. Like, can you explain that to the non-technical baseball fans out there? Because you have seen that has been a very big talking point this year. You know, especially in the national media, is like every school is pretty much beaten their previous home run records, and balls are flying out at a high clip. Can you just kind of talk to us about what that means exactly?
Yeah, so unfortunately for myself and the rest of the 2012 class, I think that was the first or second year of BB cores coming off the BESRs, which essentially to me the BESR bats were almost like a cheat code. You had the stealth comps, you had these voodoos with exit velos probably exceptionally higher than what they are now. And I think the first couple of years of the BB core bats, they were horrendous. Like, I'll be frank and upfront, I think they were horse crap. But, you know, now I think the baseballs have changed a lot, and I think that's why you see some of these production numbers going up with, I think Georgia's got 145 team home runs, and I'm sure there's quite a few other programs around that, if not more, which has been, it's good because people come to games to see action. And I think when I came through back in 2012 to 14 with the dead bats and the dead balls, I think the max home runs we had as an individual might have been 13, which now you see guys hitting 13 home runs in the first month and a half of the season, which I'd love to see it. I think we all appreciate, but it's definitely a different game.
Yeah. Macon or Michael, you want to jump in here with anything about the game or the series?
So
yeah, I'm just. You go ahead, Michael.
Probably looking at the same thing Macon is. Then Georgia's, you talked about their SEC record, 17-13, but they didn't have a series win against any of the top 25 SEC teams. Their best series win was against South Carolina. And we just saw State go up against South Carolina. So, not a question there, just more of an observation.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if it's really just the Charlie Condon show, I'm just kind of curious who the guys are on their team that stand out besides Condon. Greg, I don't know if you know the answer to that, maybe better than I do.
I'll be honest, I haven't been able to follow them much this year, so
just looking at Corey Collins. Yeah, Corey Collins has got 19 home runs. Slate Alford, that's a good name. Slate, that's a good name. He's got 16 home runs. To your point, Brett, they just bomb a bunch of home runs. I mean, going back to Charlie, the dude is batting almost 500. That's
crazy.
That's insane. Especially with as many at bats as he's had all year. He's had 220 at bats, so that's almost 110 hits. I don't know. That's crazy. But as a staff, they don't pitch very well, right? So they have over a 5.5 ERA. So that bodes well for State. We can obviously hit the ball. But just kind of give me your thoughts, Brett, if about. Do you see these games being high scoring? Like, I feel like we're going to get into some like 10-8s, 11-12s, run games. I guess kind of give me your thoughts there.
Logically speaking, if you look at the stats, yeah, that would be the logical prediction to see these high-scoring games. But I feel like in the postseason, you just never know. You have these guys come out on both staffs and absolutely shove and throw extremely well. And I think good pitching always beats good hitting.
Absolutely.
So it's hard to make a prediction. But, if I was a betting man, I would say, yeah, we're going to look at some high-scoring games and essentially just be a slugfest.
Yeah, and you speak high-scoring games, and I have it right here. The dimensions of Foley is like left field is 350, right field is 314, which bodes well. We got some good lefties that can poke, and then center field's 404. So pretty standard. I don't know how the ballpark plays as far as you get some of that thick Georgia air, if you get some humidity, that could, play into it, especially playing at noon games. Just kind of give me your thought. Again, we keep going back to Charlie Condon because I think he is, how do you see State pitching to him? Because you saw this past weekend, we brought D-Rock in and we shut down Cole. Like he threw right at him in a close ball game. Like they didn't back down. Do you see them taking the same kind of approach with Condon or, because Georgia Tech and I can't remember who else was in that region. They didn't let him hit at all. So kind of what would you, if we put on your, because you've been with Coach Avent, what do you think he's going to go? What direction do you think he's going to play this?
If I'm Coach Avent, I think the rule of thumb is you can't let him beat you. Right. So to me, I'm pitching around him, and hopefully he gets himself out. I'm not throwing anything out over the plate. I'm throwing everything, essentially what I alluded to back with the previous episode, with Cozart setting up Black to batter's box line away, and hopefully he chases and gets himself out. But I think you can base a lot of this off of his first at bat or first couple of bats just to see how well he's seeing it, because just reflecting back as a hitter, there's guys that you see well, there's guys that you don't, and we got some pretty good bullpen arms and starting pitchers with metrically elite stuff. So I think if it came to it, you might have to challenge him, but I don't know who hits behind him, but obviously it must be a pretty good hitter to protect Charlie Condon. So it's almost pick and choose your poison. And but to me, I think reflecting on it, you can't let that guy beat you.
Yeah. But to that point, the starting staff has had a what's the word I'm trying to look for? They've given up some home runs. I'll just say it like that. If I have one concern this weekend, it's the long ball with our staff giving up. So to me, it's keeping foot traffic to a minimum on the base paths. You can't go out and give, four pitch walks. You can't go beat yourself. I think because we've seen Sam give up a couple home runs, but there's solo shots, and we go win a ball game against Carolina. Same with Dom. We see him give up a couple solo shots. You still go win a ball game. Talk to me about limiting that damage.
No, I think you're spot on. I think, especially now, even so in the season, giving up free bases with a 4-pitch walk or any sort of walks or careless mistakes defensively, I think those are the differences in winning or losing a game, especially if you don't know how to stop the bleeding. Let's just say you walk a couple guys and the guy comes up and hits a 3-run home run. That's a dagger. But if you give up a solo shot, you can live with that. And the thing I think about, too, and this is what I used to tell our pitchers back at NC State and what I would tell our pitchers back when I was a catcher, I'd say, hey, man, it's essentially 9 or 10 versus 1 if you include the umpire. Challenge these hitters. Challenge them. They'll get themselves out more so than they won't. So just throw it over the plate. It's hard to be on time. And as a pitcher's job, your job is to disrupt timing, mix speeds, change your eye levels, all these different things. So, but yeah, like you said, I think giving up the extra bases, especially 2-out walks, if you talk about a pet peeve or something that Coach Avon hates, that's a 2-out walk. And hopefully we can minimize that, and I think we'll be in a good spot.
Yeah. Maker or Michael, you got anything before I throw something out there?
I'm curious. Yeah, I'm just thinking, just generally speaking, to match, I'm thinking of the offense Georgia has with Condon and I think it's Collins, another guy. But there's, I guess one, does in a super regional, I'm going to guess the answer is no here, but maybe it does in some ways. Does your mindset and how you approach a super regional, is it different than how you approach a regional? Is it maybe a broader question, but I'm curious what your thoughts on that.
No, it's a good question. It shouldn't be because at the end of the day, it's a baseball game. But obviously there's a lot more at stake. 3-game series, just you versus the other team. And I think you got to approach it the same way you approach any game. And I think what we've done this year against Carolina, Duke, Clemson, Virginia, Florida State, and Wake, if we can embody that mindset of, hey, it's go time and every game's important, every pitch is important, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. And then I guess I'm thinking offensively, like I said with Georgia, if there was a guy you had to have on that's maybe it's an X factor for you offensively, I can think of, for me, I think a few guys defensively I want to see on pitching wise, but just curious on offense, if you have a guy, if this guy's on, I think State's going to be in a pretty good spot for the Super Regional.
I think if AMAC and Pennington continue to do what they're doing, and Butterworth and Kozar, Eli Souls, you got Hebner, you got Luke Nixon. I think if these guys, we'll just say for Pennington and AMAC, let's just say they have an off series. I think these guys have to step up, which I think is what happened a little bit this regional, which was good to see because ultimately it's a team game and you got to fire on all cylinders top to bottom and not give away at bats and not give away any pitches. And, for me, what AMAC's been able to do coming over from ECU and acclimating to a new school, new program, new city, new staff, new teammates, all these things, and to see what he's been able to do this year has been extremely fun to watch. And I know the Wolfpack fans probably agree with that, but right now, if I had to pick one or the other, I'd say either AMAC or Pennington. I'd want to play. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then I'm also thinking there too, you mentioned Luke Nixon. We talked about, I think Greg mentioned Noah Souls getting that home run, that solo home run. And that guy, the bottom of the order has really been something that's come in talking, I guess a point of conversation lately of how maybe they've been slowly improving, but also become a really great weapon for the team offensively as a unit. Can you talk a little bit more about what you've seen from the bottom of the lineup? Because you're thinking of guys in the top of the lineup, cleanup and all that being your big hitters. But I feel like a lot of the action we've seen has been really critical at the bottom of the lineup lately.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flightland's Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time wearing and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
I think you're right. I think the bottom of the lineup has done a tremendous job of putting together productive at-bats, quality at-bats, laying down the bunts. I mean, if you go back to Hebner, like those small things, they add up. And essentially knowing yourself as a player and knowing your role where you're hitting in the lineup, if you're hitting probably in that 7, 8, 9 position, you're obviously not one of the best hitters in that lineup, but you're good enough. So you got to find a way to add value to that offense, whether that's get the pitch count up or lay down the bunt or see a couple pitches, whatever it may be. And those guys have done an excellent job of doing that.
You're looking at State's lineup. We've got a lot of lefties, and Georgia, out of their top 4 guys by inning pitch, are all righties. I think they only have two pitchers that have thrown more than like 10 innings for them that are lefties. Is that kind of an advantage that State has there? And how much does that really impact it when you're talking, lefty on righty?
No, I think it's huge. I think it's a huge advantage for State. And I think if you look back to the Louisville series where they ran out predominantly all lefties, obviously we had the hiccup with Whitaker getting sick and missing that series. And I think somebody else missed that as well. But
Sam did.
If you look at what's that?
Sam missed that series as well.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And then if you look at the Duke game in the ACC tournament, they ran out nothing but lefties because obviously our lineup is predominantly all left-handed hitters. I think it's huge that Georgia has a ton of right-handed arms because I think we don't want to jinx it, but I think we eat those guys alive. But left on left is difficult, and you never know. Like these guys can come out and they could shove and they could dominate our hitters, which hopefully that does not happen. But I like our chances with that, and I love the matchup.
Yeah, just kind of looking at their staff, it looks like they kind of just have like maybe 2 pitchers that are, obviously anything's possible, but Colton Smith looks like to be their dude. 9-2 with a 4.41 ERA. His big thing is he throws a lot of strikes. He struck out 99 batters this year in 65 innings. So that's dealing. So, but the nice thing about that is conversely, State has a very low K rate. They're very patient. And he's only issued 19 walks, but I think, you saw in the regional, I think we had 3 bases loaded walks if my numbers are correct. So just speak to, what should be the mindset of State hitters, especially if you got a guy that has a lot of strikeouts? Should you be aggressive early in the count? Again, I don't know what he throws, so, it's kind of hard to, kind of make some assumptions. But if you got a guy that's throwing high strike rates, what would be your philosophy approaching that?
It's funny you ask because I wasn't a very good hitter, especially in professional baseball. So anytime I would see the stat sheet and see the scout report, and I would always look at innings pitched and the strikeout rate, for me, my approach was I'm going to get them early because if you miss that pitch and you dig yourself into a 2-strike hole with good pitchers, the at-bat's over. But it really is. Like it's just the brutal honesty of it. But especially like a guy like Chase Burns, like if I'm facing him, I'm trying to get him early and trying to get that first fastball. And I'm leaning into one, Brett.
I'm leaning into one. Let him hit me. Actually, I don't know if I want one of those fastballs.
Yeah. But no, I think with good arms, you do got to get that pitch. Whatever pitch you sit on, whatever pitch you're looking for, you can't miss it. Because like I said, hitting's hard. If you're a millimeter underneath it or above it, whatever it may be, now you're in a hole 0-2 and you foul it off, you just miss, and now you're battling, and it's more of a defensive team at bat. But I think trying to get those guys early is critical. But I also think, too, if NC State continues to do what they do with their approach and their philosophy, they'll be just fine.
Yeah. Just talk to me. Do you have an X factor? You can give me one from the pitching staff and one from the offensive side that you're really looking for. Like if this, other than, and when I say X factor, you have to take out Pennington and Cozart. I mean, it's not Pennington and Cozart, or you can even take out Cozart, but Penny or Amac or Cozart. Yeah, like give me somebody not named one of those 3 that if you see this person have a great series, you're like, okay, I feel confident at how we're going to play this thing out.
I would say right now, just from the regional that he had, Noah Souls is looking good at the plate. I mean, the 2 balls he hit out were, I mean, they were crushed. I think if he continues to stay with that plan and that approach, we could look up and he could be the guy. I also think Luke Nixon could be a guy. I mean, there's a handful of them. Alex Sosa, I think, with what he went through earlier this season with the funk that he went through, I think it was 0 for 37. I think he could be an X factor as well, just how talented he is and turning down the money that he turned down in the draft. And very talented, very good, phenomenal kid with unbelievable makeup. But I mean, I think there's a handful of them that could be the deciding factor in the series.
Yeah. For me, I'd like to see Havner break out. He had some very nice plays. That bunt, like I said, was beautiful. If we can get his back going, again, he's a second baseman. I'm okay if he doesn't have, hits for a high average, but I'd like to see a little something more from him. Macon, Michael, do you got anybody that you're looking for this weekend?
Oh, me. I mean, I think you said, I think it'd be great if somebody like Sosa or Sosa already kind of coming on a little bit, but you mentioned Souls. I think the guy that I feel like is an X factor to me, and I keep coming back to him, is Butterworth. I feel like a guy for him. When I watched him swing in the last game or two, I feel like he wasn't swinging through all the way, and he was like not sure of himself going up to some of those pitches. And maybe it was just me, but he's coming up short, like he was not sure if he wanted to go for it all the way. And I feel like at times when he's been really on, I feel like he's been really good. Kind of similar with Sosa, in my opinion, as a young guy in that part of the lineup. So Sosa is easy, but a guy I just keep coming back to is Butterworth. I think he's been great defensively at shortstop, but I don't know. I would love to see him kind of be a guy who steps up. I feel like if he could be that, stay be in a really good spot. It's just me.
Speaking of that, Brett, how good was that double play, and how big it was in that South Carolina game where he caught it and then twisted in midair to pick the guy off at second? Like go ahead.
Well,
South Carolina game Saturday.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think I was up on the concourse that game, and it was about 15 rows deep or 15 people deep.
Gotcha.
And I did not see one pitch out of hand because you just could not see the field. Right. All you could see was the trajectory of the baseball, or the crowd go silent when Hebner got hit. But I totally missed that, so I don't want to speak on something I didn't witness or observe myself. But no, those guys up the middle have been incredible. I think
we'll give you their answer. It was sick.
Yeah, I believe it. I think
really great play.
Purely instinctual. Michael, give me a player offensively that you would like to see do something.
I'll say Serrano. I don't think he's been mentioned. Your leadoff guy. He's had his struggles at times, but I think he had a really good regional. So kind of seeing him continue that.
Yeah, that home run he hit was big to break the tie. All right, Brett, give me someone on the pitching staff. Like who do you need to show out?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say.
Well, if you want, let's do it this way. Give me a starter and then give me a guy out of the bullpen. How about that? Make it a little easier for you.
I think from the starting pitching standpoint, seeing Highfield get out to a good start would be huge.
Yeah.
I think him in the last couple of years before the back injury, he was a stud. And I hate it for him that he had to go through and endure that back injury, because I don't know if he's ever been the same guy since. And I know he's fighting that uphill battle, but what he's been able to accomplish with the injuries and everything else, it's been a testament to his work ethic and how good of a kid he is with just his makeup and his character. And he's battling, and the stuff is still there. And I love Sam as a kid. I love him as a player. So if he gets out to a good start, I think we're in a really good position. Bullpen-wise, I would say keep going back to him, but Cooper Consiglio. I think he's a dude.
Yeah, I would agree. To your point on Sam, he's going to go out and set that tone Friday night, right? And everyone's going to feed off of his energy. And so if he can go out and lock him up, shut him down, I would love for our bullpen to give us at least 6 innings every night. I know that may not be feasible, but again, like I mentioned earlier, if we get 6 innings out of our starting rotation, like everyone's got their role after that. You bring in Jacob Duden, you bring in Coop, Marone, Lucas.
Marone's a good one too. Yep.
Yeah, any of
I
those
think
guys
Ryan
can
Moreau
throw
too.
3 innings. Go ahead.
No, 100%. Just to touch on Ryan Moreau, I think he is not necessarily overlooked, but what he's been able to do coming in, I think he's thrown 55 innings this year as a freshman, which is incredible. And just his pitchability and his competitiveness has been off the charts. And watching him be able to throw and do it at a high level and deal with some adversity has been fun to watch. And you know what? I'm going to go back and change my answer. We'll go 1A, 1B, Consiglio, and then Ryan Moreau.
Okay. Right. Because to your point, both of those guys can give you, you can stretch, right? You can stretch them, go 3-4 innings if necessary, kind of be that bridge. So if your starter only can go 5 or 6, you can, and even Duden can give you 3 innings, and then that gets you to the 8th, 9th, and then it's, lights out at that point. Macon, kind of give me your pitching person.
Honestly, talking starter versus, I guess, your relievers or the closest guys. I think I agree with Brett. I think Sam is the guy that, for starter, if he's on, I'm going to feel really good because I feel like he's either really on or he's really not. And I know he was the last game, and he's the mayor, right? He's the mayor. So I feel like if he can come out game 1, have a really strong outing, I think it'll feel like the team gets a lot of confidence in that super regional on the road. So I go with Sam, and he's kind of like the leader. Him and I would say maybe Cozart are the 2 leaders on probably either end of it. But I like Marone pick. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Derek Smith. He's the guy I just worry about the least because that dude that dude's on fire as a closer. I like Marone. I feel like if you're going to Marone, maybe you're going to him game 2 or 3. So I would want to that's why I think it'd be great if you had him on. You had to get there, maybe even to game 3. If you knew he was on, I would feel really good about it. Of course, I'd want to win the second game, but yeah, I'm gonna go with what Brett said. I'm gonna go with Sam Highfield and Marone.
What about you, Michael?
What you, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick anybody other than Sam Friday night, especially with Super Regional being a regular weekend series rotation. It's that first game I think is just huge. Although didn't really matter in 2021, but I'd like to not do that again, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
So, what about you, Greg?
Yeah. So I kind of said Sam. Back end for me. I mean, I definitely like the Coop. He's been on fire. I like Duden, man. What he brings to the table, his moxie. He's not. And none of these guys are afraid of the moment, or will back down from a challenge. But I truly like the fiery competitiveness of Duden. Coop to me is cool under fire. Like he just goes out and just pitches, and I love the personality of each of these, especially the freshman guys. They go out and deal. They know the assignment and they just go get it done. And they're not, they're not afraid to do anything. They're not going to back down. And I'm excited. I'm excited for these guys. I mean, they've literally grown up in front of us in the matter of 55, 60 games. And I think they're ready to go take it to the next level. Yeah. And the other part too is these kids. Greg. Go ahead. What?
No, you go ahead. I got another follow up with you on that.
Yeah. I think it's so cool for these young freshmen to see this and going through this to their first year. And they just take that next step every time they're ready to answer the next bell. It's like, boom. Okay. Boom. We've done this. Okay. Regular season. Check. ACC. Check. Regional. Check. Now we're going to super regional. Check. Like it's just this business as usual for these guys. And you feel like they've been there for 3 years.
Yeah. The other guy I was going to say that we haven't mentioned here that I feel like, man, I would love to see if he's on, I feel really good too, is Dom.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's been throwing really well. I mean, I think he's been pitching a little bit less innings than maybe the other guys have a little bit, but he's been playing well. So I feel like for him, is another guy I could see. I wouldn't mind him being on either. If I could pick between those other guys, he'd be a fine option. But
yeah,
I know none of us mentioned him, but as a freshman, if he can come in and have give you maybe a little bit more than 2 or 3 innings, that'd be even better, right? So
yeah. All right, so I think it's time to make some predictions in this thing. I have a feeling where we're going to go with this, but still got to ask the question. Brett, give me your predictions. Is the Pack going to Omaha?
I think the Pack's going to Omaha in 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me too. That's what I think. I'm thinking 3 games. I think State gets the first game. Actually, I don't know why. I get the vibe they will. But I think it's going to take game 3 to get that second win and move on to Omaha. I do think they get there.
Michael, give me what you got.
I'll go packing too. I'll do it.
So let me give you my, like, if Sam goes out and wins Friday, or whoever State just wins Friday, period, I think we wrap this in 2. I honestly think we wrap this in 2. I think our pitching is way better than Georgia's, and like you said, Brett, pitching wins ball games, and I think our defense is better than Georgia's. If we win game 1, we probably win this in 2. Now, if we don't win game 1, I still think we have enough to get it done in 3. Now, selfishly, I don't want it to go 3. I have to take vacation and more hotels and all of that, so I'd love to get home.
Are you even a fan?
I'm not even a fan. So my pick is I'm going to go State in 2. I feel confident. The momentum is just rolling. Other than the 1-game hiccup against Duke, which I'm glad we got it in Charlotte and not last weekend. I just think this team's confidence is just they ooze confidence right now.
Yeah.
So you guys are more confident than me and Brett are, I guess. You and Michael are.
Look, this has been State's year. I mean, I know this is a baseball podcast, but I mean, Final Four appearances, the national championship in cross country.
Been a great season.
Yeah, I mean,
sports.
It feels like all these teams have been feeding off the previous team, and it's like, okay, now we got to go one up the previous team, and so I think that's just what we're doing right now, and I don't see it. I just don't see it ending right now, unless something, if we end up losing, it's because, like Brett, you said, we ended up beating ourselves. I think we were in the talk heading into the ACC tournament that we could have been this super regional team. Instead, it ended up being Georgia. Like, we were that close. And by the way, I'm not a gambler, but if you look at the odds, it's almost 50-50 of how it's playing out. So even Vegas thinks this is a pretty even series, which I think that definitely.
I think it's one of only 2 series, and it's only one of 2 series that has the 1 versus 1 seed, right? The other one is Kentucky, Oregon State. So yeah, it's actually kind of interesting. There's no 1-2s. It's only one. There's a bunch of 1-3s and 1-4.
No 2 seeds made the super.
Yeah, no 2 seeds made it.
Yeah, this was the most 3 and 4 seeds that ever made super regionals in the history of NCAA baseball. To that point,
5-1-3 matchups, 1-1-4 Evansville. Yep. But then that's still 1-1, and so
which is odd because you would have. Never mind. I'm not going back to that conversation. Actually, no, I will work it. Like, how did we get the crap time slot? like this is like one of the 2 top projected.
Right. It's the 1 versus
matchups.
1.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Any parting shots, thoughts before we wrap this thing up? Anything?
I guess. How big are we all pulling for West Virginia this weekend too?
Country roads take me home.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna grow a beard out just in honor of it if I can. If I can. My wife doesn't think I can grow a mustache, guys, so I'm gonna have to try it out. So.
Anybody else closing thoughts? We good? All right.
I'm good, man. Let's just go get a super regional win and go to Omaha.
Let's get to Omaha. We'll hopefully this time next week we're on our way to Omaha for would that be the 3rd time under LEA event and the 4th time overall in state's history.
Would you be going, Brett, if we get there?
Yeah, of course. I'd be there.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Okay.
One stat I ended up finding before, this was actually my parting shot. This is actually pretty interesting. State and Georgia have actually faced one time in the Super Regionals, and that was 2008. That regional, that first round, we coincidentally played James Madison in South Carolina, and
that's weird.
Georgia played Georgia Tech in their regional. So there's some things. They got us 2 games to 3, or it's going to be 2 games to 1. So maybe we can go back down to Foley Field this time and pay them back for
right the record.
Yeah, right the wrong. So anyway, that's my parting shot. So Wolfpack Nation, thanks again for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully we have a couple more episodes next week for baseball where we're talking Omaha. But as always, we appreciate y'all. Make sure you're liking and subscribing like we said in the first episode, and hit that notification so you can get more cool interviews. We try to bring you the best talent, and so like I said, we reached into the bag and got Brett for us this episode. But all right, well, we'll see you in Omaha, Wolfpack. And as always, go Pack.